Hello, good afternoon, and most likely good morning for very few participants today's webinar. Before we start today's webinar and I introduce the speaker, I, on behalf of International Copper Association India, Spark Group, and P Manifold, extend you a very hearty welcome for today's webinar. This is part of the webinar series which we have been conducting since the pandemic started and altering our life. If I place a question on the table, what is that basic need that helps you fighting this pandemic? And I'm sure 80% of you will be saying it is electricity. The electricity keeps our life on, and that is the best tool today in our hands to fight pandemic, a unique situation that we are in, whether our health facilities, whether our educational facility, whether our communication, and all the domestic devices, they need electricity. And if electricity was not there, probably we would have been going back by 130 years. And if internet would not have been there, we would have gone back by 30 years. So there is nothing to underscore the importance of electricity. But the electricity does not come just like that. It is carried from the source to our plug point through various systems, equipments, and means. And all of them need to function reliably as well as efficiently. So this webinar series have been attempting to bring the learning during this efficiency and reliability in power utilities for COVID situation and post-COVID situation. Having said that, we all are aware that distribution companies in India, they have some key performance indicator, and in this COVID also, they are facing some critical issues like demand fall, revenue collection shortfall, and not being able to go to the field. So the HR related issues. What are the utility KPIs? And this is not very unknown to us. We all are very familiar who are working in the sector or who are keeping information about the sector, the power sector at large, and who are basically working on ground that electricity must reach, and it has become another fundamental thread for our life to go on. Besides roti, kapda, or makan, electricity is today must be delivered. While doing so, the distribution companies, they have challenges which nobody can ignore. They have challenges to reduce their losses. They have challenges to operate it very effectively, and the reliability is one of the key things. quality of supply they have to deliver, because our equipment should function and system should not go for outage. At the same time, they need to have financial sustainability. So all these are utility KPIs, and we are familiar with it. A typical issues around distribution transformer, because in the whole distribution infrastructure, distribution transformer is one of the most efficient and silent capex, which is supposed to remain in the system for 20-25 years. But varieties of challenges in our Indian ecosystem have created a situation where out of 12 million DTs, almost 1 million DTs fail every year. And that's a huge financial loss for our distribution sector, close to 5,000 to 6,000 crore every year. And we cannot afford it. The DT failure rate is very high in India, 15-20%. At the same time, many of our private discoms are island of excellence where it is around 1% or less than 1%. There are technical losses and there are challenging practices in the procurement, in the O&M, in the breakdown repair, and into the replacement. So these are key issues, and we are familiar with it. Number of actions are on to address these issues. But while doing so, when we are looking at the distribution transformer and the distribution system, it looks at the load and the nature of the load, but do not lose the sight on the price, on the delivery, and the performance. If you see the bubble size, we have been creating balance. The price has become the only criteria, L1 criteria. We are wanting to deliver because we are obligated to our citizens. We want a very good performance, but on the left hand side, the price, delivery, and performance, is there any balance which gives me the balance for catering to our loads and the nature of the load? We already know our demand has fallen down, our load curve has shifted, and varieties of this thing. Now, assets, the distribution company's assets. At the same time, we want to do a performance improvement. We want to manage our risk, whether it is regulatory risk, customer risk, vendor risk. Especially in this time, some of them are very acute. On the performance, the expectation from the citizens about 24/7 supply does not negotiate what utility can do. Each of the utility people and the people who are operating in the sector, they have to live up to that expectation. And this situation is not going to change. We have to start living with this new normal of COVID. At the same time, lowest life cycle cost, because of the global issues which we are familiar, the carbon footprint, global warming, all these are always stuck on our face, and we are day in and day out facing those. When we are facing those day in and day out, how do we get the best out of our asset? So the asset management has become a key for any progressive utility and its management's philosophy. without getting the best out of the optimum investment what we can do, we are not going to win over this situation in near future. One of the things which comes to my mind that yes, as I mentioned earlier, that we want to create a balance, a perfect balance between the price, the delivery, and the performance, so that we cater. Now, in asset management, which is today's topic, we'll be hearing our expert speaker, Dr. Roy. Dr. Ray is an industry veteran with almost 3 decades of experience, unique blend of research, development, testing, diagnostic, training, and project. She's the principal member of development of IEC ETD 53 on the management of assets in power networks. She has been the recipient of prestigious Dr. Bikram Sarabhai Young Scientist Award, awarded by Department of Science and Technology for development of fault current limiter. Before her current role of Managing Director, Lakshmi Associates in Vadodara, she was involved with double engineering, Omicron, and ERDA. Her journey has been from the eastern part of India to the western part of India, but her acquisition of knowledge have been global. And we, the participants today, consider ourselves lucky to get rich experience from Dr. Ray, whose expertise and interest in this particular area have been significant. On the left, myself, Manas. On the right, Mr. Patnaik from Spark. So we'll try to help coordination of today's session. Today we are having this particular session. We also have, as a part of this webinar series, in the month of August and later, some of the areas which are of key interest for the power sector, and especially concentrating on distribution asset and distribution transformer. Some of you already might have attended our earlier 3 webinars. If you visit this link at pmanifold.com, all the webinars pre-recorded have been available. So during this time, when we all are learning quite a few things and adapting ourselves, make some time to look at this recording of the past webinars. So quickly, some housekeeping measures. I'm sure all of you are very familiar with the webinar platforms now. So have a strong internet background. And since all of us will be muted when the speaker comes online, I would suggest you that you can put your video off so that you get a better bandwidth. And any kind of questions or help you need, kindly put it onto the chat box, which is on the right side of your panel, and we'll be addressing that. We once again thank you for your active participation. We'll make available this webinar recording post-event. The question and answer at the end of the presentation we'll be addressing online. Later on, after the whole webinar series is complete, we'll post question and answer in a FAQ format through the website. So with that, I now give the floor to our today's esteemed speaker, Dr. Aradhana Ray. Dr. Ray, the floor is yours.
screen sharing is a problem for me, it seems.
No, it is visible. Perfect. You can go to the slideshow mode, please.
Dr. Aradhna, check the internet once.
Hello, Dr. Ray. Dr. Ray.
Manas, I think she is facing some internet issue. I'm trying to connect with her.
Is she able to get?
Hello. Hello. Yeah, Dr. Aradhna will be joining in a minute. I think she is facing some internet problem. So please hold on.
Manasji, actually, should we continue some few kind of discussion till ma'am to arrive?
Yes, we can do that. The other option, what I have, I can play the slides if she is connected. So, and she can guide whenever she wants the change of slide.
Actually,
But
she is
in the
offline.
meanwhile,
Manas. Currently, she is offline. So just hold for one minute.
okay, okay. Okay, Patnaik ji.
Yeah.
Patnaik ji,
So,
I think.
Manasji, I am taking up this discussion with you especially.
Okay.
The topic title which you have mentioned over here, asset management of a DT by utility, post-COVID necessity. So let's to go for the same title, and in case of a post, I am just adding that a pre-COVID necessity. Mean to say in a general way, the asset management of DT, how to be taken care by the utility, because of you are having the rich experience in the distribution sector and also this line. So can you add some few lines upon it?
Yes. See, there are few things as a distribution company. we are faced with. Number one,
I'm muted.
pardon me, are you able to hear me properly?
We are
Yeah, I'm
hearing.
able to hear you. Hello.
Ma'am just arrived.
Now I can do that presentation.
Okay, you can do the presentation, madam. If you have a problem of your internet bandwidth, then
No. I'm okay with net also. Can I do my presentation?
yeah,
Yes,
please
yes.
go ahead. Take it to the slideshow
Yeah.
mode.
Yeah. Is it visible now?
Yeah, very much visible. Your screen is visible.
Okay. Okay, done. So let me start. Sorry for
Please.
interruptions. So we'll have a brief introduction about ISO 55000, how it is implemented for the asset management. Then we'll have a case study on transformer fleet assessment. After that, we'll go to the risk management perspective as per ISO 55000. Then
Kindly
risk
go to the
mitigation.
next slide.
Yeah, risk
Sorry,
mitigation.
kindly go to your content slide.
Is it
It's
okay?
not,
Now I'm in the second slide.
no, you are not in the content slide. We are not seeing that.
Go to next slide, Dr. Aradhna.
Wait. How to do next slide?
Just you can press the button
Your
how
normal,
you
your
usually do.
normal.
Next.
Normal.
Okay, my suggestion is this: since you have reconnected, can you close it and go back again to take the screen?
Just close the presentation and reopen it.
Okay. Closed.
Snehal, you give fresh access.
Yeah. Just I'm giving the access again.
Sharing, yes.
I can see my presentation.
No,
So
you please accept and then
Please accept. Yeah. Now go to
except
the next. Yes.
done it.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the brief content about the presentation. That is introduction of asset management as per ISO 55000. Then we'll go to transformer fleet assessment. The third will be the risk management and risk mitigations, and then conclusion. So why we are talking about asset management? There are different kind of criteria and benefits out of this asset management process. First, the performance improvement. That means the overall industry performance with respect to KPI will improve if we go through asset management. Cost improvement means you will optimize the cost. You're very fine in managing the risk. You know the risk and you know how to manage the risk. That will help you to have a business growth. And the most important, reliable decision making process. That means whatever decision you will take, that is reliable. You can trust it and it will be optimized. And all this process will enhance stakeholder confidence. Stakeholders, your shareholder, your customer, your even the employee, those stakeholders will get benefit out of this.
Dr. Ray, before you go to the next slide, can you take it to the slideshow mode, please?
Yeah, done.
Yeah, very nice, done.
So the whole concept of asset management lies in this slide, which I just want to explain you. We always struggle with total cost of ownership. That means we procure a transformer on L1 basis. Every year there is some expenditure on those transformers, right? Till the end of the life. So the capex could be high at the start, then you have a small opex. At the mid of the life, you do the some refurbishment or rebuild of the transformers to enhance the reliability. That is a part of the capex. Again, the small opex will continue. Opex means operational cost, capex means capital cost. So always when you buy a equipment or a transformer, there is a balance between capex and opex cost till the end of the life you declare. So it starts from the procurement itself. And suppose we have L1 criteria, we purchase a transformer where the capex is less. Fine, you did it. After 2-3 years, you have some major issues in that transformer, and you went to a cost which is 50% of your capex before you stabilize that transformer in your system. So if you just sum it out, the total cost from procurement to the scrap is the criteria of purchasing a transformer and using it, and this is how you can optimize the life of the transformer. And plus the cost, you can get the minimum and maximum benefit out of that. So in this slide, what you're seeing is this is a cost, capex, opex. It goes like this. The green is something, the risk. Risk can be calculated for any system or any kind of asset. At any level, risk can be calculated. There are methods to do that. So risk is initial when you procure any equipment, and it increases with the lifetime. Same way you have condition. Condition is very good when you buy the transformer, but it degrades because of operating system conditions. This could be dielectric, thermal, mechanical, all kind of stresses on the transformers, overloading and other factors which we'll see. So that will degrade the condition of the equipment. A condition came where you realize that there is a midlife and we need refurbishment or overhauling, whatever it is, so that I can again increase the condition. So when you increase the condition, you have again a good capex here. Like that, the condition goes, and a time comes when the risk, the value of risk is as good as what you have the condition. So that is the criteria where you take a decision whether I should discard the transformer or again we should use it. So that depends on the what is the total cost of repair and other parameters in the network, whether it is available, it is not outdated technology, so many things, the rating is compatible and all. So that decide the end of the life. So the goal of the asset management is to optimize the cost here. Cost conditions should be always in a favorable manner so that you don't have any kind of unknown failures, and risk could be monitored till the life of the transformer. And where the risk exceeds, we have to replace it. Risk could be financial, risk could be environmental, risk could be anything, and that could be quantified. So here is the end of the life where you have a lower DP value, stray gassing, another problems, technology is obsolete, rating is obsolete. So those kind of problems it could be. Okay. I see your screen now. What to do? I can see your screen now instead of my presentation. Yeah, okay now. So in simple term, what is asset management? Plan, that means what we are going to do. In case of transformer, planning is like a good specifications we have as per the requirement. The specifications will be designed. Again, there is some disturbance. Okay, so that is the planning. So when you plan, then what? You'll procure it. So when you're procuring the transformer, then again, lot of inspections involved, lot of quality audits involved. That is how you do. And then you commission the transformer. Then check. Check is a process where you always monitor or check the health of the transformer, performance of the transformer. And you know the behavior, the performance, and take the feedback out of that. And those feedbacks is something where you have to act. You have to modify your specification. You have to modify your system performance like that. So this is a cycle, very popular cycle in asset management: plan, do, check, act, and continuous cycle. That means it should never stop. For each asset, it should be analyzed, and these feedbacks should go in system. That is more important. So asset management is not performing the best we can do. If we decide that we will do the best, that means you can buy the you can have all the leisure to buy a very costly transformer, overrated transformer, you know, and a lot of online monitoring and things like that. So that is not asset management, where you are just supposed to have no control on cost and buy the best thing and try to operate in that way. So in reality, asset management is doing what it is necessary for what? To maintain a balance between performance, cost, and risk. Performance means, again, you have to see that what is the criteria, what kind of specification I have to make, okay, so that I can get the best out of my specification. That is performance. Cost is, if I forget about the performance specification, then I can get a very relevant kind of cost criteria, and I can get transfer at any cost. But both are at different level, you know, performance and cost, they are not matching. One is having this contradictory. When these two are contradictory, then there is a risk. So ultimately we have to manage the risk based on performance and cost. So this is how it is shown here. There is a desired performance, there is a risk management, and there is a cost. So you have to make a balance in between. So how you make a balance, how you define a risk? There, the asset management define the business value. So based on the business value, risks are defined, and based on the risk, you have to decide about your performance and the cost. So this is a whole hierarchy of the asset management. So when I talk about the risk management, as I told you, this is based on the company value, company asset management policy. Suppose it's a transformer, asset-wise risk. So what is our risk? It should be available. It should be reliable. Okay, power quality should be good. That is what we have to maintain. If it is not maintained, it is a risk. Public safety, there should not be any hazard in the public. No fire, no oil spill, that is the public safety. Staff safety, during maintenance, nothing should happen to staff. Unplanned cost, transformer should not fail unplanned way, so that there is a kind of outage cost, and it impact the performance of the system itself. The SADI, SEFI and all that get impact. Environmental impact, how you dispose it off, what is the kind of carbon credit. So those are the environmental impact. So those kind of criteria is the business value. From there, the risk is calculated, and based on the risk, you have to design your performance and cost and optimize the overall performance of the system. So ISO 5000 gives us a kind of guideline framework how we establish this performance, cost, and risk, and get the quality service out of the asset. So it's about the value which is inbuilt in the organization itself: financial, environmental, social, all those values. So first thing for any kind of utility is to define the value, align the value. If your values are aligned, that is the top management, and from there, if it is decision is taken to the down level, everything will be aligned till the asset, the last asset. We'll show the hierarchy in coming slides, how these are aligned. So first you have to align your value. That is more important. So asset management is a very engineering and step-by-step process, how we are doing it as a community. So to make you simple, it is it's like a detailed engineering knowledge which is get converted into different kind of index like health index, performance index, condition assessment. So it is based on experience, data, and management information. And that whole thing derive the corporate decision making based on the value what it is. So you have engineering knowledge, asset database that goes. This is the initial thing which any organization has. Then you can make these kind of thing: condition assessment, health index, performance risk, and risk mitigation. That is very much important. Knowing the risk and mitigating the risk, both are very important. That also we'll talk later on. And this goes to the upper level where you have a management information, link that to the corporate decision makings, and this is how the whole asset management plan is designed. So there are some definitions in asset management. Asset could be anything. Asset management, first thing you have to define an asset. Asset could be anything which is giving a value to organization, or it could be thing, identity, service, anything which gives a value. So it could be the intellectual value, it could be a physical asset, it could be your own intellectual technology, anything which is related to the company and giving its value and impact is defined as asset in terms of asset management. So service industry is also having a service as an asset here. So what is asset management? Asset management is a coordinating, it's a coordinated activities. That means it's not an activity which is done in different department in different manner. It's a coordinated activities. Finance, technical, operation, those activities are coordinated to make a single goal. What is the single goal? Realize the value from the asset and delivery of the outcome based on the value. That means the business value. Now let's talk something the asset management initial concept, how it could be implemented to a transformer, distribution transformer. Here what we are seeing is a kind of age profile of a utility. Okay, so there are different kind of replacement wave kind of thing, that you have a transformer here, maximum installation is here, but there is estimated age 40 years, 50 years, 30 years, and that need to be replaced. So it's not only about the maintaining the transformer, getting the optimized life, there could be replacement wave where you have to replace also, and that is also asset management decision, risk-based decision. It is not just based on age, it is based on the probability of failures, how much risk it carries, all those things comes, and it helps in replacement also, asset replacement. So now it's a live example, a small fleet screening where 100 transformers are taken as a sample. The transformer life is mid-life, basically 15 to 20 years lifespan. And for the fleet screening procedure for the distribution transformer, what is done, that I am explaining you. Site inspection is done, that is the visual inspection. Review of design and O&M activity, that means the design, how it perform, and what O&M activities is done on that particular fleet, 100 transformers. Then some kind of engineering review, partial discharge, thermography, DGA, Furon routine, whatever the possible, all data is collected, and some offline testing is done on the critical transformers. So this is something about the fleet screening, which is the first step in the asset management. You have to know the condition of asset, then you can move on to the later stage. So in this case, what we found, 30% of the transfer fleet was in normal condition. That means after 15-20 years, still they don't need any major maintenance. It's just some time-based maintenance is done, and they are as good as in the green zone, you can say. 70% fleets require minor or major maintenance action. So it's very important to know first that what is the condition of my asset to implement the asset management. So if I go to the detail about those transformers which are having minor or major issues, these are the issues I try to categorize in terms of FEMA. That means if I consider transformer as a asset, there is a sub-component level. Okay, so what are the sub-component level? These are the lead and insulation, winding, solid insulation, tank, OLTC, OCTC, oil, solid insulation core, anything. So even the subcomponent level, they have a different mode of failures. And you might be wondering why I'm discussing in such a detailed way, because FEMA is a subject which will link you to the risk of the system. Okay, so for example, I'm giving you, like, you have a one type of the transformer in 100 numbers, and you categorize FEMA and you find that, oh, 50, out of 150 is having the same failure trained or same kind of aging trained or same kind of problem. So that will give very good input to the system that we need change in specification or change in quality or change in whatever it is, and what are the risks behind it and what proactive action you have to take. So those things are, FEMA is very good. It's a very nice big table. You can refer to the documents. So here I just make it very short. So lead and insulation failure, high level of acid discharge observed on the lead. So what is the maintenance action? PD monitoring on half-yearly basis. Suppose it's an unknown domain. We have not done any PD monitoring. So we don't know there is a discharge. Okay. So what will happen? This is a minor problem, but anytime phase to ground flashover can happen. So sometimes the good diagnostic new technology is helping us in giving it the optimized asset management. That means we know, we are proactive, and then we are taking a decision. Now winding, mechanical weakness of the winding. There is a buckling in the winding. That is assessed. Then you can't keep those transformers in your system. Why? Because if you keep that, 2 or 3 system fault will damage the transformer, and then you listen that there is a fire in the system. Okay, so the origin is mechanical weakness of the winding. Why? Because if the system faults through which the DT is going, when there is a system fault, there is a chances of such kind of buckling, the coil ovaling, and then there is a hazard. So we should take out those transformers and it will go for rewinding and factory repair. There is no option left. When there is a short circuit fault, we are very lucky to say that fault is, kind of fault was sustained for very low duration, 80 milliseconds, 60 milliseconds. But because I belong to a background where I operated short circuit lab for 10 years, I know what is short circuit fault. So 10 millisecond fault is more than sufficient to damage your insulation, your winding, because that is the peak of the fault. Okay, so the better way is to control the system fault so that you can manage your asset. That is the key takeout. It's not that let us allow and the protection will operate and everything will be okay. No, it's not about only transformer. It's about all the system, all the equipment you have in your system. So this is winding. Solid insulation, excessive moisture. So again, if you have a moisture in your insulation, either it has come wet from the factory itself, there is no proper dry out at the factory, or at the site it got some exposure during commissioning, or you have excessive leakage in the tank and you have a moisture, then life of the transformer will be very short. You don't expect 40 years or 30 years, you expect 15 years. After 15 years, your DP value of the transformer is going to be very down. So don't allow any transformer which is wet to be in your system. Either you do factory dry out, or if possible do the on-site dry out, but don't leave it. If you're leaving it, it's not good. Even the flashover can happen because of the excessive moisture and the bubbles inside the transformer. Again, solid insulation failure mode could be height and delta value. So if you have height and delta, it's just a benchmarking. You have to monitor it, and after some time you have to discard it, or you do some remedy, like you do on-site dry out, you do some kind of overhauling and try to manage the tan delta value if aging is at moderate level. Tank, already discussed. If there is a leakage, then you have to arrest the leakage. OLTC, if DCRM is indicating that in this case it was a selector contact aging, then OLTC overhauling is required. Suppose you don't do the overhauling, please don't operate the OLTC at least, because we know that a transformer failure as a subject in we have done also a lot of project on fleet management. We will show that. So bushing and the OLTC is the main component which initiate the failure of the transformer. So we have to be careful about the OLTC. OCTC, which we never operate, still it is in our system. And there is a chance of contact misalignment, carbon deposits. That also a lot of cases we find, because ultimately it's a part of the life circuit in a transformer. The component itself is a very low end component, but it is a part of our transformer. Oil, if you have a high DGA, then you need online DGA monitoring. Then if oil itself has a low resistivity and aging, that means you need oil replacement. Acetate aging of the solid insulation, DP is already very low, furan content is high, then scrap it. If you have a lot of stray gases and more acetate aging of the core, then scrap it. So these were the maintenance action based on the fleet assessment, because based on this maintenance action, the cost could be optimized, the value could be achieved, and the next hierarchy can be made. And these are a number of transformers which were showing the same kind of symptom. So based on this, you can make a very nice FEMA table in detail, and you can calculate risk from here itself. So suppose there is 100 transformers, so it's very impractical to know each and every transformer by location, name, and the type. So the new concept is health index. Health index means it's like a dashboard which will help you to know that which of the transformer is in the red zone or the yellow zone, and you should just have a feel of pleasure saying that lot of transformer is in the green zone. So how the health index concept has come? It's all the engineering data collection, condition data, condition A, condition B, those data which is through the offline online test. Then you have inspection and maintenance data, that is also contributing. That means the physical inspection and what maintenance done, that will impact the score. Then physical location, manufacturer, type of insulation, year of manufacturing, those inputs is required. Then technical life analysis is required. All those engineering input and the physical input goes to the health index algorithm, and out of that you get some value, and that value define the good, fair, poor, or end of the life criteria. Let's see the next slide. So it's a systematic collection of available information to define the asset condition. So it has a lot of practical knowledge and experience of the asset inside it. It's not a number just. So the health index is a very popular tool now in world of asset management, so that you can see the overall picture of asset at one dashboard. So for example, 10 is a good, that means you procure a new transformer. 0 is something you scrap the transformer, and all the other conditions comes in between. So same 100 transformers fleet which we have discussed, health index score is calculated here, and what you see is, as I told you, that 30% transformer were good. So you see the score below 6, above 6 are the good score. So it's 30% approximately, and below 6 is a bad score where you have 70%. So the lifespan of the transformer 15 to 20%. And remember, these transformers are working transformer, right? Working transformers. There is no fault. Nothing has happened to the transformer. It's just assessment, so that where to invest the OPEX cost and some CAPEX to manage and extend the life of the transformer. So this is you can see the distribution of HIA score, and from here your upper management can see that these are the things which we are supposed to do. So when you have something in numbers with data and everything, the asset operator has a very less work and very less hurdle to convince the higher management that this is the action we require, because here they are not speaking, the data is speaking. Your system is saying that this is the problem and you have to get rid of these problems. Okay, so same 100 number of transformer. What you see is in terms of now health index, green is not shown here. What you're seeing is all red, yellow kind of indication, and here the health index number and the risk. Risk is high, medium, low, depending on where it is and what is the impact on the system. So everything is calculated for the fleet assessment. And maintenance action already we discussed in detail. So just 10 to 8 is good, 7 to 6 is average. So this is what the band we should operate and look for that. And it's a dynamic process. Once you do the maintenance actions, so then the green and this can be converted into D zones. So you have all parameters good for 10 to 8, 7 to 6, moderate deterioration, it's okay. But we have to focus here, high degradation, then high critically found, and then you have to take instant action on this. So where the health index fit in the whole asset life cycle plan? This is your health index here. So asset data, from there the health index, then you analyze the risk, then you mitigate the risk. You cannot avoid the risk. Avoiding the risk means it is not possible practically, because you know there is a risk. That means you're closing your eyes and you're saying, no, there is no risk. There is a risk. Either you can mitigate it, or you can defer it, or you can transfer it. Transfer means you do a good insurance and say that if there is a fire, it doesn't matter, insurance will pay, right? Mitigate means you do good maintenance, you do good monitoring and mitigate it. Okay. Defer it means not possible now, but as soon as possible, because of the system shutdown or unplanned outage, whatever it is, the limitation you have, unavailability of the fund or things like that, I'm deferring it, but I'll attain as soon as possible. It is in my portfolio. So you select that portfolio, manage the risk, and then again put in the maintenance concept so that next time that risk will not be there. So this is about the health index, and health index defines the probability of failures. That means if it is 10, probability of failure is very low. Your transformer is not going to fail. But if you are in this zone, that means probability of failure is very high and your transformer is going to fail. So based on health index, mathematically probability of failure is derived based on the formula. So health index is a base. From there you derive the probability of failure. Now, the technology has come because probability of failure is possible to derive. So health index, we know that at present, what is my health index is like this. But as soon as we know the probability of failure of the equipment, behavior of the equipment, aging of the equipment, system performance, then it is possible to define the health index after 10 years. What will happen to these things? Like what you are seeing here. Initially, the health index is 8 to 9, but after 10 years, it will be in the band of very less, kind of that health index is going to deteriorate, and this helps in planning the asset for the future, 5 years plan, 10 years plan, what is going to happen. Those kind of decisions could be taken from here. So this is what we discussed. You have actual condition, then HI calculation, then probability of failures depending on the system behavior and the equipment behavior. Calculate risk out of this information, identify action, and estimate the future operations. Now, the brief about the ISO 55000, because what we talked, all these terms are defined in ISO 55000, and that helps us to put all these terms in a framework where it is aligned. Everyone knows from top to bottom, asset owner to asset operator to asset manager, that what action is required. So ISO 55000, there are 3 standards. First is just defining the overview, principle, and terminology. That means what are the definitions related to asset management is defining ISO 55000. 50001 is talking about the management system requirements. That means this is a standard which teaches that how to implement asset management in a system. 55002 gives the guidelines how to apply ISO 50001 clauses. That means it's an additional standard which guide us that in which clause what should be applicable. So these are the three standards, and 50002 is revised latest, that is 2018, and that's a big standard, and it has a lot of details about the asset management principle. So what ISO 50000 does is first identify the value for the asset and for the system, then align these value in technical, financial, and operational decisions, and collectively to achieve a corporate objective. Very important here is the leadership and the commitment from the top management for using asset management. Then it is utilized. So the system is from top to bottom, then becomes very effective. And assurance that asset will continue to fulfill. That means it's not a kind of audit where we did the audit, put all the remarks, and it makes a file. No, it's a continuous improvement, and every day it is applicable to a system, and a system get updated and your portfolio get optimized. So this is the hierarchy we are talking. Top of that is asset owner, stakeholders. So they decide the business values, strategy. The asset manager who manage the network and decide the asset lifecycle management. They make the plans, risk-based plans, documents. All is made here. Decision is taken here. The plans are made here. Lifecycle management is done by them. And operational area where the asset operators are there and they are maintaining the individual assets. So if the instruction is from here to here down the line, everything is in line. The bigger picture of the asset management which the world is following is this. What we are saying, ISO 55000 is covering this blue line. Blue line means asset management portfolio, asset management system, and how you manage the asset. That is the domain where ISO 50000 specification is working. So any organization who does audit as per ISO 50000 will have a score out of these areas and the assessment and the improvement process out of this audit or process. So worldwide, ISO 50000 is done in energy sector, in the oil and gas sector, and other different sectors. More than 200 companies are already certified in Australia, UK, then Malaysia, Singapore. Those are the countries where this is very prominent, and they are already certified. And IM is a body which IM and BIS is the body which is backbone of these standards. So the new thing which has come, first you see here, where we are talking is a transformer. Transformer is a subset of managed asset and how it is linked to corporate decision. So this is how the hierarchy is. Okay. So the new thing which is come is the IC now. IC has some different. It's not in the corporate management decision, not to the acquire and all, but it is at the system level where I'm working from India as a group member. So how to manage the asset in a network, that is the criteria of IC. So when this IC will be in place after 1 year, so then you will have a document how to go about asset management. Still ISO 55000 is very popular in those regions and getting a lot of benefit of that. So to give a feel that how these kind of standard is applied in the real world, I'm giving you another example where we have worked for a fleet assessment of 12,000 distribution transformers in Malaysia. Okay, so in this whole process, what we have done, the key takeaway that I'm discussing right now, we categorize distribution transformer based on population. So there are 7 regions. Out of these regions, the 7th region, Western region, was having the maximum population around 5,000, and the total population is 12,000, and the rating was 11 kV and 33 kV maximum rating. Other ratings are also there. So first we benchmark the population. Then what are the makes? Because the distribution transformer, 12,000 transformers, so it cannot be one make. So what we find to our surprise, there are 91 manufacturers to supply 12,000 transformers. It's too high. So out of 91, these are the major suppliers. You can see here. So when you have a almost 100 manufacturers supplying 12,000, you can imagine that what could be the specification, quality, the design criteria, and what variety they have, and what mess there could be to manage these transformers. So this is just the asset benchmarking we have done. Then the rating. There are 34 ratings. 34 ratings to manage the distribution network is too high. So somehow we put a criteria that will reduce it to 50%, and that we have done. How we have done it? You can see from here that we calculated the failure trend, and we find that some ratings are having very high failures. We went to a detailed investigation and find that these ratings are having a design weakness itself, and some manufacturers is giving a poor performance. So these ratings which are giving high failure rate is discarded, and this is how the whole network is managed, and the rating is unified to 50%. And 50% reduction in the rating is done. Then, if you see the installation of these 12,000 transformers, the maximum installation was in era of 2000. So when we did the fleet assessment, it is more than 15 years of distribution transformers. So that was the case, age and installation. So reason-wise failure, as you see that Western was having highest transformers, and the failure rate is also high in Western, 5.7%. So that is the intake. Now the failure modes. Failure modes of a transformer of 12,000 numbers, we found that unknown and severely damaged were 38%. That means reasons is unknown, or the transformer is damaged to an extent that it's not in a condition that where we can investigate the failure mode. What is the way out? So that we should have these informations, because this is a good information we're missing. So we should improve the utility should improve the DER, that means defective equipment report, so that from the DER some clue could be taken and converted this unknown to a specific cause. Okay. Then winding. Maximum failure was due to winding in the distribution transformer. Then you have vandalism also, solid insulation failures, bushing failures are there, and other accessory failures are less. We did some life analysis of a transformer based on the statistics, and what we find that probability of failure 0.5 is rising around 12 to 14 years. That means mean life of transformer, distribution transformer in the network is 14 to 15 years. And that is also clear from this data. You can see that mean life is less for these two ratings, 33/11, 33/433. Mean life is less. But for 11 kV, mean life is okay, 16-15 years. That is what we found in the network. And reason is that 33 kV level transformers were operating through OLTC, but the maintenance of OLTC was not so good. It was an unknown domain, and the maximum failure was because of the OLTC issues. So that is the takeaway behind it. So ultimately, these information has to go to the top level. So how it will go? So we have to make a gap analysis. That is a part of the ISO 55000 audit. So in gap analysis, you have to see where are the gaps, and you have to give the suggestions that how to fill the gaps to achieve the corporate goal. So some gaps, I have not written everything, some gaps I have just shown. The record of transformers were partially available. It's not compiled. So basically, who is the owner of asset is still not defined. Sometimes corporate, sometimes site kind of thing. So all important asset transformers needs asset register and asset owner identification so that you can make them responsible for maintenance activity, for other engineering license. You can make them responsible. That was missing there. Then a unique identification number. So it is not mapping through SAP. That means all assets cannot be traced in SAP. So that was the problem. So if it is not traced in SAP, that means you're not able to see any history about the equipment. And your decisions are just biased decision based on the feedback from the user. So a lot of things are on. Annual asset audit was required because the records were not proper. Random preventive maintenance practices, that means the failures were random and accordingly the maintenance were done. So that has to be proactive. For that feedbacks were given. Corrective maintenance reporting, that means when there is a kind of failure, they make some corrections, but that is at the divisional level. It is not linked with the system. So that has to be linked with the system so that you can have upgrade in your specifications, maintenance and other things. So key gaps where proper specification is not there, design review was not as per the latest industry practices. As a quality tool, check some latest diagnosis should be applied like SFRI, Delta, PD. That was missing. There was no procedure for erection and commissioning. It is dependent on the OEM guidelines. So every OEM has a different guidelines, different formats. It's very tough to trace the data and from the system and do something. Then training, calibration and procedures is required for transformer fleet assessment. Instead of distribution, we have done some transmission and generation for the same system. So 50% of the fleet was in midlife and they need good overhauling maintenance, somewhere critical. So FEMA of the fleet were designed. I think how many minutes I have? 10 minutes, 5 minutes? Hello?
Yeah,
You
Dr.
can
Aradhana, I
take
think
5
10 minutes.
Okay, so I am trying to conclude. Okay, so what we are seeing here is a asset data bank, which is very large for any asset owner. What we need to do, you have to design a nice asset data based on the asset management principle, then convert into health index, go to the risk assessment process, then mitigate the risk. For the mitigating risk, you have to see there are different scenarios. So you have to make portfolio, scenario 1, scenario 2, because it is not possible to do everything which you want. So you have to make portfolio. That means if a transformer is behaving bad, whether I should replace it, whether I should do some good maintenance, whether I should do overhauling or run as it is to failure, or run at a reduced load profile. Okay, so those kind of portfolio you have to make and then optimize depending on the real situation. And then the risk project management, and again whole thing goes to the maintenance concept. You have to optimize your maintenance concept, revise your maintenance concept, and the cycle keep on going. So that is why I told you this is a dynamic process. It's not a static process where you made it and kept it somewhere. Egg, plan, do, check is a dynamic process. And if any utility doing, they are achieving the best out of their asset. And this is one part of the asset plan, just one part. That is the takeaway. The whole thing which I talked with you is something like this. What you're seeing here is the top management, where you have shareholders, government, regulators, employee, unions, customers. They're all stakeholders, shareholders, right? And what are the values for the company is financial, safety, quality of services, legal, image, environmental. And these all has some contribution in the risk assessment. That means a particular scenario have a good financial impact, but no environmental impact, like that. The whole thing is designed. That is called asset owner hierarchy. Asset manager. When it comes to asset management, management, that means after risk calculation, what is the risk that is defined here? That means any gas leak is there, any power cut, transformer overload, whatever it is, that risk is identified, and how to mitigate those risks. Actions are there, okay, and then you optimize from these two portfolio, and here the action is taken by asset operator or service provider. So this is the whole framework of ISO 50000, how it works. Now let's come back to the distribution transformer very quick. What best we can do for the distribution transformer? So at least we can monitor load current, voltage. We do thermographic inspection, online PD survey, very close inspection of the terminations. A lot of terminations failures on site is same for the bushing transformers. Any kind of oil leakage, those physical inspections we can do for the distribution transformers. Because the problem with the distribution transformer is that you will not get an outage. Utility is running in a manner that they installed it and they made it run to failure. In between, there is no space. So at least we do some online inspection, online data recording to save these transformers, and some gadgets could be there like HT fuse or DO fuse for the protection on HT side, LT circuit breakers for the protection on LT side for any fault, and horn gap and lighting arrestor. These should be there. These are all a component for the mitigating risk in the distribution transformers. Still, problems are there in distribution transformers like prolonged overloading. That means we don't know, we don't monitor voltage and current and keep overloading the transformer and then say that transformer failing because they are overloaded. Single phase loading, that's danger for a three-phase transformer. Unbalanced loading is not good because you have a lot of harmonic, which will create additional heating issues in the transformers. Actual data available for the loading of transformer. This no data, no data is there, so you know the load profile. Faulty terminations, improper size of lux, so overheating is there. There is a additional tension on the terminations, so again the overheating is there. Power theft, that also is a kind of problem we have. Prolonged short circuit, because in distribution the protection is not so good. So that is how if we have an individual protection plan for a transformer, it is good. Transfer tank size is reducing day wise, so you have inadequate oil circulation and overheating is there. That is also a relevant criteria. We are optimizing the size without knowing the engineering facts. Improper earthing, that is very important. Earthing in distribution sector is a topic which can be taken separately, and a lot of transformer is failing just because of improper earthing also. List is long, I'm not going, a lot of things. This is last slide I'll take. As a fleet management process, because any any utility will have a category of transformer, distribution, transmission and generation, and this is how we implemented in our last project to sum up that. So if you have a distribution, as I told you, the pattern is run to failure, but it should be something like corrective or reactive maintenance, as we discussed a list and how it could be done. Asset management strategy should be there, that you should have a sufficient spare inventory, then components, and you should know the root cause of the failure also. So when you come to the from the distribution to the medium level transformers, it should have something like decision to repair or end of life replacement. So some kind of assessment should be done offline, online assessments should be done. When we come to the larger transformer, then definitely you should do residual life assessment, midlife assessment before you go for midlife refurbishment, and then decide the criticality about the components and do a optimized maintenance. That means you should not replace bushing one time, oil filtration second time, OLTC maintenance third time, then kind of oil replacement fourth time. Please know the problem after a midlife. What are the major problem in your transformer, and resolve everything in one go. When in a planned manner, in a phased manner, you will extend the life of the transformer. So do the proper life assessment through all these process, online, offline, engineering analysis, and then go for an investment and optimize it. So this is how the hierarchy, asset data, knowledge, CBM, then investment plan as I discussed, and then achieve the optimum economic performance. So last slide, risk. Risk is nothing but probability of failure and consequence of failure. Probability of failure is designed by the health index. Consequence of failure is something that the business value will decide what are the consequences of failures. So these are the values: network performance, safety, environmental, financial. These are the values. If I go in detail, this is how it will look like. All the values are written, and accordingly the risk criticality factors decide to calculate the risk. So this is how the value of a risk calculated. In AL0, these are the risk individual transformers as it is as it is condition, and what will be after 5 years if you don't do anything out of that. So a lot of things I can talk about risk, but the time is very less. 1 hour is nothing to discuss all that thing. So you should have a line of sight starting from corporate to the work execution. These are the line of sight and different documentation procedures we should go. And the last slide, as I told you, TC 123, this is the scope, which the standard will come after 1 year, and we'll have a nice standard for the asset management in the electrical network. Focus is electrical network. This ISO 50000 is general standard which is applicable to each and every industry. This is specialized for the electrical network industry. That is the beauty of that standard. So these are the chapters. I am writing one chapter, life cycle management here. And these are the hierarchy of TC 123. Data, you have asset and consequence, risk analysis, and like that. This is the hierarchy. I'm done because time is not there. So stopping here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. I think we have quite a few questions. So I will request Mr. Patnaik to steer us with those questions. And then if the time permits, I will have one question to get clarity. Mr. Patnaik, please.
Yeah, namaskar again.
Namaskar.
To all the and to our expert, one and only. Now to proceed this one, very simple questions they have asked are related to your experience and all. The first question goes, refurbishment is taken in CapEx under which provision?
CapEx is something like if you're going to a rebuild, like if you're doing something on site, your cost is very less, but you are going for a rebuild, refurbish, then you extend the life of the transfer 15 to 20 years. So then it is considered as a CapEx. Not everything is.
Yeah. Is there any mechanical tools or any tools you to be recommended from your side to go for that way?
The total cost of life, the total cost of ownership has a mathematical formula. It's an engineering thing where you have acquire, that means procurement cost, commissioning cost, maintenance cost, which I am discussing till the scrap. The scrap is also having some cost. So it's having a nice formula, total cost of ownership. And based on that, the decision is taken that whether X make or Y make, we should procure. It's not L1. And some incentive is given on the total cost of ownership when the maturity model is derived. So there is a formula.
Yeah. And one more question related to L1, it has come to us. In the regulatory procedure, basically at present practice, we are using the L1, the criteria. But how a utility should consider for the case of DTR on complying all the IS, because all IS, if it is being satisfied, they may not get the quality kind of transformer. So how it is to be considered? Though L1 is the practice, but any recommendation from your side?
See, I think the bidding should be in two ways. I think it is done like that only. First, the technical evaluation, and then the price bid evaluation. So, if in technical evaluation your quality team is strong, your specification you're made like that, everyone cannot make and be L1. You can make this, no problem. You have to, I mean, you know how to discard the lower inferior quality in the technical evaluation itself. Go to the factory, do the interview, see the process. Just come out of the box, see what they are doing, and then evaluate. Don't evaluate on the paper. If you're doing on paper, then it will not work. You have to be more proactive.
Yeah. I think the one which you told, I can add also one or two lines. Whenever to go for this L1 and all these things, first of all, the kind of TS, technical specifications, if it will be stringent, then automatically the quality concern people who can come and join. And by that,
Very simple example I'm giving you. Like the moisture control, it's considered to be linked with the life, right? If you have a dry transformer, you can expect 40 years. You have a wet transformer, you can expect 15 years. That is a practical experience I'm telling you. I'm not telling something from the book, right? So don't look at the, because I have a lot of cases. This is a very small presentation. I can't show you anything. Don't look at the object. So how you will decide if you don't know the quality of transformer and everything is not measured at the factory itself? So the quality procedure, the quality plan, the inspection plan, you have to simply have to come out of the box, first review, select the factory, make them vendor, then during document process again you have to be active, do video calling, do whatever you want. In this COVID, lot of video inspection is going on, right? I'm also doing it. So you have to keep watch and like moisture control, losses control, okay, temperature rise control, partial discharge. As per IC, you can go to 500 PC, but the good quality I have seen give it the 10 PC.
Exactly.
So make own spec.
Yeah.
In fact, precisely there is a question on this.
Your engineering team should be well qualified. See, very unfortunately, I have to speak because I don't have any fear. What is happening? Inspection is a third-party job. Third-party job. The engineer is going. He does inspection of 100 objects. He doesn't know what object, what is the requirement, what is specific, and he just read the standard and sign the report and gone. So the first thing, it should don't have third-party domain. It has to be in-house team. In-house team. Then it is possible.
Ma'am, actually, the in-house team always to be there, but what it happens because of this scarcity of manpower and all, sometimes it is extended to third party, but third party should be also split. You mean to say that one? The third party should be also
in line with your requirement. You should take interview those who are going there. Okay, you have 10. You can create 100, but 100 should be in line with your requirement.
Exactly.
Then it should be in your hand. Whatever the way you want, controls will be in your hand. Then only possible. Time
Yeah. One more question, ma'am, has come. It's a very simple way. Also, you can say the relevance of useful life with asset management. It's a very simply one line answer you can give also.
Relevance of asset management.
Relevance of useful life of the DTR with asset management.
Yeah, because as I shown you the 12,000 transformer fleet management assessment, have you seen a lot of takeaway was there, from small survey to till the system audit, lot of gaps, lots of surveys there. If they modify the system, they modify the process, procurement, maintenance management, everything, then the life what you expect could be double, I claim. If they do it, 15 years could be 30 years. And that's a great achievement. And that gives when you follow a framework, when you follow a standard. It cannot be in silos, in one department. It has to be through overall structure.
Exactly. One more thing also, the curiosity question has come here. How to go for this online PD for 11 KB DTR?
Very easy. Lot of technology available. We have done a lot of cases. Those who are asking, give my mail ID or number. I'll share with them.
You know him. You know him.
Lot of sensors are available. UHF sensors are one which can be used. HFC sensors are one which can be used. Like what you're doing with the switch yard. Same thing you can for the DT. Who told that we cannot do it? We can do it.
No, they basically do say for the cost effective, on the point of a cost effective point of view.
I think these are the buzzwords. Everything is possible. They are available. They are available. Think people are not aware. People are not able to utilize. Knowledge base is not there. I'll say in a different way. Knowledge base is not there, and they think that is something black box and very high-end technology. No, the things are very optimized. All DSP based procedures, systems. So what you need is a good operator which is having a good IQ. He can acquire the data and you can analyze the data. That days are gone now.
Yeah. Oh, very, very simple. Another question has come also. Is there any online technology to identify mechanical weakness of the winding? I mean to say online technology.
Not possible. Online technology is that you do review your system and see that how many faults the transformer has gone through, and is it it's something that cross the design life of the transformer, because in short circuit also 9 shots are allowed, not more than that, with this limited duration. So that is what online you do, the engineering analysis, system analysis. Otherwise,
Now
nothing.
we cannot exactly quantify, the terminology what you are using, of saying so that we cannot exactly quantify as like any results come to out, so that we can know that our winding got mechanically weak, we may go for change and all.
No. Because mechanical mode is the first mode of the failure. Okay, that get converted into dielectric and electrical. Then you come, from the oil analysis, DG and all. So mechanical failure is a first stage of failure because of the system impact. That is diagnosed only offline, not online.
Actually, again, one more question and the last question from my side. As far the DTR is concerned, capacity versus voltage, regarding fleet screening, how to identify whether a transformer is properly dried in factory during the commissioning and all? It's something combined question, of course. So regarding fleet screening, how exactly go for the relation of a capacity versus voltage? Because the example which you have shown, that goes in different way, considering only capacity, and other one is only voltage. As for your example which you have shown.
No. You want to know the moisture content based on the capacity and rating? Is it the question?
Capacity and voltage. Yes, capacity and voltage.
Yeah, for the EHB, it could be 0.5%. For distribution, it could be 2% also. It depends on the voltage level, basically. Capacity doesn't play much role. The voltage plays major role because it is related with the dielectric performance.
Yeah. And then another, as far as the DTR is concerned, basically, one gentleman also asked how to identify whether a transformer is properly dried in the factory during the commissioning. The one they have done in the factory during the commissioning, how the person will be knowing that the winding got completely dried or not?
There are checks. Offline check is very popular. FDS. Okay. So
Yes.
I would say that you do for the 100 transformers if you receive, at least do some sample check. Out of 1,000, take 5 samples and do the random check. If you find that there is no variation, they are in band of 1%, leave it. But one is 1% and 4%, then you have a doubt on the process. Then you should check it more thoroughly. That is one thing. If you're already installed, then also there is a process called domino. It's a raw process, domino, online check. So just put on the oil sampling valve and then you check the transformers. That will give some guidance. No doubt FDR is a very detailed assessment about the dialect.
FDR is also day by day is getting popularization, but thing is they're not been accepted in all way in India. Can you just make it some few points why exactly so? Of course, I do not want to take anybody something like that. In a general,
Please don't. In general. See, acceptance or not acceptance, it doesn't matter. If you're a utility, benchmarking matters. You're
yes.
buying it, okay? So at least you should know that what is my benchmarking? I mean, where my transformers are. If bluntly, if I going and measuring it and coming 4%, will not allow those transformers to be in the system for the long time. Okay, if it is below 1%, you're happy. 2%, okay, I'll run it. So it's benchmarking. You have to trust the value, and that is what. From there we have to start, and practically we are doing 1,000 transformers in 1 year. Our engineers, and I have a lot of benchmarking for that, and it's working very fine because it is related to the aging of the transformer, and that is the life, and from there you want to derive that how you optimize. A very good example I'm giving you. It just clicked to me. Two plant, same company, but there are different two plants. Okay, somewhere the maintenance team is very active. They are doing kind of on-site dry out at 15 years. By doing the assessment, we have done the assessment. They find that their band is 2 to 3%. They did it. The other plant, they have not done anything. After 25 years, they did it. Benchmark. The most of the transformers having 3 to 4%, having high DP value, high Furan. Nothing you can do at on-site. Every transformer will go to factory. Either you rewind, scrap it. So same company, just two plant, delay in the decision taking, and see the operating cost. On-site dry out value, and after 10 years going for rewinding, what is the value? So it's very simple, your approach.
Yeah, I mean to say it is only to speak in this line that we should have a proper action plan. Our
Yes.
focus and way of attending to things, because technology is available everywhere. For only the acceptance wise,
As a consultant, we can just consult and say them that please do it. It is an advantage for you. The decision has to be taken by the utility. And those who are taking decision, they are definitely having benefit out of that.
Okay, ma'am, just I'm coming in. We have around 8 minutes in hand. And
Please.
I think you have to put your charger on. The battery is very low.
Okay.
If you run out of battery,
So,
then the initial
give me
heat.
one. I'll do
Yes.
that. I'll do that. Yeah.
Okay, Patanayak ji, I will
yeah,
take the rest of the questions. I will take it to ma'am.
yeah.
Thank you, Manas ji.
Okay, thank you. I am a good quality auditor, you know. you got a question how to identify a transformer installation is properly dried in factory during commissioning. So basically, your feet has to hit the ground if you really want the best out of your investment. But there is an interesting question here. The question is split screening study cost effective for distribution transformers?
Split study.
Is it cost effective for distribution transformers? Knowing in India that we have a
That is
very
what I'm
huge
saying.
number.
That is what I'm saying. Don't go through the buzzwords and things like that. Lot of things you can do in-house itself. You don't need everyone to come and teach you that what you need to do. But the things which you cannot do, that you should you should hire a consultant and get the guidance and the proper, basically the proper procedure and plans based on your system, and it has to be done by the utility itself. Nothing additional cost. It's your best practices with the same
Okay.
same kind of employee you have. You have to make them align to use these best practices. Nothing.
So
Cost is very less.
naturally, I mean, you are underscoring the importance that if it is your asset, like how you manage your own asset at the home,
Exactly.
you also manage your own asset in the utility, just not because it is a public utility. In private
No,
utility,
no.
probably it doesn't happen. Okay,
Yes, it is
so
happening. It is happening.
it's a consequent question. Which distribution utilities in India is or are following ISO 55000 for asset management of distribution transformers?
Unfortunately, in India, very less. I think one or two Vedanta or something I've seen in the list. They have gone through ISO 55000 process. Otherwise, it's very new to India. And since worldwide it is 20 years back, IM started. 10 years back, it was on the boom for the Middle East and South Asia and Australia. But India, let's see. Let's see.
But any utility has started at least partially in some area, like a sample and something like that.
Glad to see that some kind of feel is there. They know this is a standard. This is health index. I tell you, real problem where it is. Everyone want to do by themselves everything,
So
and
another
then you are at the middle of thing which you done something and then you leave it. It's complicated.
nothing is
So that
complicated
is
actually.
that is where the standard plays a role. Please follow the standard. That is more important.
Yeah, that is respect for standard, and you have made a very pertinent point that whatever decision you take, it is data-driven decision. And
Exactly.
we always complain in India about the data reliability. So there is a interesting question here. Collecting reliable data for analysis is a challenge. Did you face it? If yes, what kind of reliable data was most difficult to get?
Basically, the commissioning data, then the maintenance interval data, because asset owner is something X after 5 years and it is not well documented. The experienced people are retiring, so the new person come in, they don't have it's not well documented, so you have to dig out the ground to get the data. Not so easy, not so easy.
Where we are going wrong in that case?
Basically, it's very simple. If you have SAP or any kind of such corporate software, try to link from there itself. They'll not, if it is system driven, there'll not be any gap. It is human driven, then there'll be gap.
Okay, great.
Done the project, there was a SAP, and we link everything to the SAP.
Another question: Are you recommending? Yeah, are you recommending online PD monitoring for DTs?
Yeah, it is very much in practice. People are doing it. I'm not recommending it. It's a world practice, and they are doing it. Even in India, I'll tell you the name. I have seen a lot of presentation on the Tata Power. Tata Power in Delhi. I've seen 2-3 papers that they are doing online monitoring on the DT.
Okay.
NDL basically. Yeah, I've seen the papers on that.
Thank you. And what should be the schedule for tan delta testing for a transformer?
Tan delta, if you can afford, it's 1 year. Otherwise, 3 years, it's good enough.
Okay. So there is a relevant question. Standard doesn't define any value for tan delta. So how to arrive at a safe delta value for different age of transformers?
It's not about different age, it's about the rating also. You're talking in which domain? Power transformer, distribution transformer, medium voltage transformer. So
Since we
tan
are dealing
delta.
in subject, of distribution transformer today.
Let's talk about the distribution. So we do a lot of project, and somewhere tan delta is 18%, 20% also. And transformer is running. Okay. Same scenario cannot be in power transformer. In that case, transformer fail anytime, right? But we know what is the reason for the 15-20%. So basically, it's aging, moisture, and all. And if you do the proper dry out, those could be in the band of 3 to 4% after overall.
Okay. I think we have few more questions, but some are little repetitive, so I will not repeat that. One question, I think two questions we have time, basically another 1 minute, so you can make it very crisp reply. Is there any mechanism in utilities for risk assessment and motivation and owning the risk responsibility?
Mechanism is something that there is a big ISO on that 33,000, and plus this ISO 55,000 all talks about the risk and how you make a framework for the risk assessment. So it is on system level. You
Okay.
have to design it. You have to design it.
Design exactly, and I think it is always the top management takes the risk responsibility to run any business. So
Yeah.
obviously, when they drive home the system has to go right from the top to the field level, and again come back your PDCA format again to the top level. And that's
Yeah.
the way we
Yeah,
must
it
function.
will come to the top. Yeah.
And if we think that we have no job, our tire should not hit the ground, and everything will be online and everything will be done by the meters and instruments, then I think will not do justice for engineering existence.
No,
The last question,
no,
I
not
think
possible.
I will take it. Last question, I will take
Use
it
for your
for your consideration. How much thermography is useful transformer condition monitoring?
Yes, if you have high temperature zone because of different scenario, like cooling is not effective, you have some choking problems, then your oil circulation is not there, or you have some partial discharge, loading profile is high, oil is less in the transformer, or theft of the oil is there. So a lot of things, loose connections and all, those are identified through thermography. Very well, very well.
Well, ma'am, I think that
Yeah.
was the last question. We can take it in this session. We are just crossed 16:45. So I, on behalf of the organizations and especially the participants who took courage and patience to go through this little heavy subject in their opinion, and I'm sure they will be benefited. Once again,
But I try to make it as simple as possible from my side.
Perception matters. So it is in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
So no problem. And this web recording will be available to all the registration participants. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out by email, which we will be giving. So I again take this opportunity to thank you on your behalf, our expert speaker of today, Dr. Ray, and my colleague, Mr. Patanaik and Snehal, who have been instrumental to organize this. Initially, there was little heat because of the internet issues. So we are apologetic for it, and we look forward to your participation during our next webinar session in the month of August. Thank you, madam, once again.
Thank you,
and
sir.
wish
Thank
you all the best, safe stay and healthy stay to each of you, the participant. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ma'am, I have got one
Yeah,
comment.
please.
The one which you explained, everything was of a pre-COVID era, but the title was of a post-COVID. So you have to come once again to present the nation through this particular one. Okay, it was ma'am on like.
Sir, let me first collect that. What is the post-COVID problems? I'll tell you. I'll take just 1 minute. Okay. You see, a lot of failures, accidents are happening everywhere. That is post-COVID. Why? Because we are not following the system, you're not following the procedure, you're delaying the maintenance. You're thinking that with the less manpower I can do this. You're having assumptions and you're seeing result by yourself, and it is going to increase. Wait for 6 months, because a lot of factories and the shutdown, they will revamp. Maintenance procedure is not there because we are not well documented for anything, not prepared for anything. That is post-COVID.
Actually, ma'am, you have done the last concluding remark is the real remark. You have extended. It is just only representing your total presentation today. Thanks, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank
all.
you. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.